Hello, hello, Dr.
Hello,
Crystal.
Dr. Mike. You're
Hi,
so
how are
close yet
you?
so far away.
I know it's great to see you. So today,
Yeah.
hey, welcome to Life Extension Live. I'm Dr. Mike, the Director of Education for Life Extension, and I'm here with Dr. Crystal Gossert, the Doctor of Clinical Nutrition. Great to see you again.
Yes, great to see you as well.
All right, so we're going to get right into this. So we're going to talk about women's health today, and what a great topic! Isn't October breast cancer month? Right? Is that
Yes,
right? Yeah,
it is. And
yeah.
there are events going on all over.
Yeah, so this is very appropriate. And so I want to thank everybody for joining us. Don't forget to like and share and comment. We love all of that. We have Robson, who is behind the scenes running the show. We have Holly and Brittany, who are on the social media channels, answering questions and feeding us questions. So, hey, the reason we do it live is so we can be live. Like, talk to us, right?
That's
That'd be great.
right.
I'm sure your mom, Crystal, is getting ready to start talking.
You better
Anyways,
be.
so women's health, obviously, so I just want everybody to know that Crystal and I have been, I'm sorry, Dr. Crystal and I have been talking about this for a while. And I asked her, right? I mean, if you guys don't know Dr. Crystal Gossert, she's a wonderful woman. She's I know, a fabulous wife, amazing mom, and she has an amazing professional career. And I mean, like right there, I just kind of got tired saying all that. And so I asked her, I don't know, maybe it was a few days ago. I was like, wouldn't it be great? What does women's health mean to you? Right? You remember that?
Yes, I remember.
How would you personalize all this? We're going to talk about things. We're going to show. Somebody just said she's my cousin and is a
Hi,
beautiful person.
Princess.
I agree. And sometimes, and of course, Dr. Crystal, we talk about technical things at times. We talk about studies. I want to just personalize this a little bit more. And I think you're the best one to do that. So what's your take on all this? When you hear women's health, like, what do you think?
I think the first thing that I think about is taking a moment for yourself. Now we have we did an entire live all about self-care, and I think that's a big part of it. That was our main show for the month of September. But then I also think, regular checkups. Don't skip the doctor, and I also think about recognizing your health concerns based on your stage of life, based on your
I like that.
ethnicity, based on your
Yeah.
age. It's just kind of being aware, self-awareness, and just being educated on things that matter for your own health.
Yeah, no, I think that's great too. But I also, I asked this question to you because I really am curious. You really are a mom, professional, wife. Like how does that play into the idea of women's health?
Well, oftentimes the role of women, certainly it has evolved over the years, and there's still a lot of work to do. I, kind of looked into this topic a while back, and there are organizations that's, really trying to make sure women are paid for their work, and that women
that'd be good, right?
yes, are able to still have careers and still have their family, and they don't have to choose, and can be all of those things. But I also think that, you don't have to be all of those things either. I think
That's a good
sometimes
point, right?
we put
Yeah,
too much
yeah.
pressure on ourselves to be so much to so many people.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that. It's that idea of the superwoman syndrome, and I think we even did a podcast on that, and we'll talk about that coming up. But I think that's fantastic. So here's what we're going to do today. I mean, there's so much we could cover, but in a tight show, we have to pick and choose. So Dr. Crystal and I thought about this. So obviously, breast care breast health is going to be important. And then we're going to look at the younger years, right? And then the mature years. And that's kind of how we're going to progress. So let's just get right started into breast health and why that's so important. And I did want to share this. And so Robson, again, he's our producer, wonderful guy. If you guys ever met Robson, you would just like fall in love immediately. And he takes a joke good too. Anyways, if you Robson, I want to show that first image of the different cancers, like the top. I think it's called the top 10, right, or something like that. Yeah, there you go. So, Dr. Crystal, take a look at that. That's the top. This is from the CDC. Right?
I know. You know, I saw this when you sent over these slides from the CDC. So I went to their website and started clicking through these graphs, and it was shocking to see breast cancer right up there at the top.
Yeah, I thought it was. I actually thought prostate was going to be higher. I mean, these are stats that change a lot, but what do you think? I would have guessed prostate would have been higher.
Well, actually, I would say not so much because and this is just me, not based on stats. This is my opinion, educated guess, that women are more likely to probably go to doctors to get the diagnosis.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah. So the guy, you're right. That's well established that guys my age, we let problems fester. So maybe in a given year of data, we're not going to the doctor.
Right. Exactly.
We're not getting diagnosed. No, that's a good point. I like that. But yeah, just take a look. You can see there, you can see where lungs, what is it? Colon and rectum, melanomas in the skin. You can see that. So breast cancer, obviously, and specifically female breast cancer, right? I mean, men can get it, but we're focusing on women's health today. And so this is an important topic, breast health. Let's show, Robson, let's show the one about race, looking at different races and ethnicity and how.
So it looks like we are having technical difficulties. Let's see.
Can you guys hear me now? Sorry.
We can.
Oh my God. What happened? When did you cut me off?
No. It's in this world of technology, it happens on the big stage. It happens all over the place.
Okay, so I was giving the most eloquent answer, the most great description of life, and I get cut off, right?
That's okay. I think you were going to show. I think Robson was going to display the graph of the different ethnicities.
Yeah. Let's take a look at that, Robson. If you can throw that back up for us. So there's the top 10. We want to move to the ethnicities. But this was something you wanted to talk about, right? Because you found this really interesting.
Yes. And Robson, if you can put up the slide with the ethnicities.
He got it. Robson, there you go. No,
yes.
That's the age.
That one. Well, but I like the age one too.
Yeah, let's try.
There we are.
Yes. That's okay. Here we go. Ethnicity. Tell us, is this surprise? How does this break down for you?
Well, it's very interesting, and I can like go all day on this one, but you would think that, with a lot of the health disparities in the Black and African American community regarding, rates of obesity and diabetes and
Yeah.
hypertension, that there would be higher cases of breast cancer in Black women versus white women. So I thought that was interesting. And again, it could be due to less diagnoses, and
Maybe
maybe
so. Yeah.
underdiagnosed. But we do see, just in general, at least between Black and white, is kind of evenly distributed. And then you see lower incidence in, the Asian community. That could be due to their diet and their intake of soy. We do know that
Oh, good
soy
point.
intake,
Yeah.
soy isoflavones, can have a positive effect on breast tissue. In the Hispanic community, there's so many factors that kind of play into this. That also could be due to maybe underdiagnosed.
Yeah, I think what a great idea. And maybe that's a conversation we should have either in another live show or Dr. Chris and I do our podcast Live Foreverish. You can check that out at liveforeverish.com. Maybe there's a conversation for us to have about we talk about like income inequality. What about healthcare inequality? Maybe that's.
Oh, yes.
I think there's something there, and I don't know if that would totally explain the numbers we see now based on race, but it's an interesting conversation. I think that's one we should have, and we're going to park that and move on with breast care. And so the last one I want to show. Robson, if you can put the one up about age this time, there you go. I mean, and this is well known, right, Dr. Crystal? I mean,
Yeah.
this is a consistent graph. Year after year, this is produced again by the CDC, and you can, your 60s, your 70s, your 80s. I mean, those are the years that we have to be very aware of what's going on and the potential risk for breast cancer, right?
Right. And what's interesting about this graph, which it relates to screening, because many of the organizations that have screening recommendations, the recommendations is actually, over for the American Cancer Society, women 55 and older, they're saying, maybe every other year they can screen, and, it's based on your life expectancy. So it's kind of becomes more of an optional
Right.
recommendation for as you get older. There are other recommendations. The U.S. Preventative Services Task Force recommends mammography every 2 years, age 50 to 74. So I always look at that and say, okay, does this align with the cases?
Yeah.
Do we see those recommendations? And you see some of the relationship, but the other thing that stands out to me here is the role of estrogen. And you wonder, a lot of people, and this is, we can talk about this later, but a lot of people associate in their minds that estrogen causes breast cancer. And, in your 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s,
I know where you're going, right?
you do not have, estrogen.
You don't have a lot of it, right?
Right. So, that just goes to show that it's more complex than oftentimes we.
Yeah. And since you brought that up, I think, and, and again, we got to keep moving, but I think that's another discussion to have about hormone balancing, right? I mean, in a woman who's 60, 70, 80, estrogen's low, but that counterbalance hormone, progesterone, can
Right.
even be lower. I mean, and so there's issues of estrogen dominance and all that kind of stuff. I think that play into those stats. So I did want to, moving this on, I don't want to get too stuck in the conversation of screening, because we could do a whole live on screening, right? Right.
Mhm.
But how? Because I know you were talking about some things you're going to have to do soon. I hope that
Yes.
wasn't too much to say.
No.
So what is the most common screening recommendation for women when it comes to breast cancer prevention at this point?
Mammography. And,
Yep.
I'll just put that out there because there are other options now that you are seeing being explored, like thermography, which, we do know if cancer is there. And actually, this is your area of expertise. So you probably could explain it better with kind of like, the heat that's produced, but from the cancer site and the increased blood flow. And that's what you can pick up with the thermography, but it does not replace a mammogram.
Yeah. So it's still, so people that don't know, in my past life, it seems like so long ago, Dr. Chris, so long ago. I was a radiologist, and so this is kind of my area. Again, and it's not that we're not saying that thermography may not have a role at some time, especially if the technology is refined, right? I mean, who knows where that leads? But at the end of the day, we can only make our suggestions based on the data.
That's right.
I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it is. And so when it comes to looking at a screening tool, you want to look at certain things. We call them sensitivity, specificity. We're not going to get into that. At the end of the day, thermography just really doesn't even come close.
Yes.
To the data that we have and substantial data for mammography, right? I mean, at the end of the day. And so at this point, it's still mammography. Now we're looking at MRI, and even ultrasound could be important for younger women who have dense breasts, right? That's true too. There's now 3D mammography that's playing a role. I know we were talking about that earlier just today, right, Dr. Crystal? And I think that's fantastic. It's just a little cost prohibitive right now to really utilize that a lot. But so right now it is mammography. And it is important that you follow your schedule. And your schedule could be different based on your risk factors, right?
That is very true. I listened to a Zoom meeting all about breast health this week. And there were many women on there sharing their stories. And one in particular was 20 years old. And she was diagnosed with breast cancer at age 20. But at that time, she was already on a schedule, an every 2-year schedule for mammograms due to her health history, her family history, first degree relative that's dealing with, have suffered from breast cancer. So yes, it's certainly an individualized schedule based on your risk.
Yeah. And we support that completely, right? It works. Mammography is a great screening tool. It is the standard of care. So please talk with your doctor about what that appropriate schedule is for you. So we're going to move on, but I got one last question here for you. Okay. You're the food person, right? Although I'm probably a better cook, but anyway, you are the you're going to let that slide. Are you really going to let that slide, Dr. Crystal?
You probably are.
So if you could give me your top 3 foods that you think women of all ages should increase to help with breast cancer prevention. Top 3 foods.
Number 1, which is actually a tea, green tea. Number 2, coffee.
I just saw was it your son or your daughter just walked?
Yes, that's why I had a moment of distraction because my son
I love live shows. I love it.
Woke up from his nap and he just came in here, but hopefully he will be quiet.
Let's see. Green tea.
Coffee, believe it or not, 2 to 4 cups of coffee is associated with a reduced risk of breast cancer.
Nice.
And broccoli. Cruciferous vegetables. Let's put that out there. But broccoli is one that most people are familiar with. But Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, cabbage, you should consume at least a couple servings per day.
Yeah, and the cruciferous vegetables, right?
1 serving per day. Kale,
Kale's good. Yeah, the cruciferous vegetables. What's really interesting is there's compounds in that type of food that helps your body metabolize estrogens better,
Mm-hmm.
right? There is a way to metabolize estrogen in a more healthy way versus not, quite a healthy way. Nicole just said she loves them all. I don't know how
Oh,
anybody can love broccoli,
that's
but
my
I'm
cousin
gonna have
too,
to leave it
by the
there.
way.
Yeah.
That's another cousin of mine. My family is they really support
Where's
me.
my? How many? Well, we're not even go there. We have time. All right, so that we need to move forward. And there's other things. Check out lifeextension.com/breast care. Robson, if you could put that URL. Yeah, there we go. That's the URL. That's a great protocol that talks about food and supplements and all the stats that we just mentioned. Check that out. Oh, copiously referenced. Like we take pride in that kind of stuff. So take a look at lifeextension.com/breast care. We're going to move this now on to the younger years, right?
Yes.
And I mean, I'm not, we're not going to define what that means. Like, 20s, 30s, 40s, maybe even today, 50s.
Yes, for sure.
It's hard to define that. But one of the things that we wanted to discuss you said something I thought was interesting. You wanted to talk about this because you feel like sometimes when it comes to women's health, the younger woman is kind of left out.
Always.
Right?
Or maybe it's just like my
Always,
own
yeah.
issues that I need to deal with. But yes, I think often no one's talking about premenstrual syndrome. It's always about menopause, but what about those years leading up to menopause where, a lot of women are struggling with something, and it happens every single month after month after month. And so I did want to bring that into the conversation as well, because there are things that you can do. It's really not quite understood what causes PMS. However, it is real. It's not just in your head. And so we know it's a combination of, the hormones affecting neurotransmitters, and then those neurotransmitters also inversely affecting hormones. And so those are some of the things that we understand about it. And one thing that we do know, though, things that make it worse. And I figured I would just quickly run down. If you're dealing with PMS, limit your sugar, limit your salt, exercise. You need to increase your exercise, and consider checking your thyroid.
Oh, good point. Yep.
Yes, there is a connection between hypothyroid issues and some of those PMS symptoms. And when you look at nutrition or things to incorporate, fatty fish, omega-3 fatty acids.
Very nice. And so, and isn't there also, and again, I don't want to take this conversation into the mature years, but isn't there also some evidence that women, even in their 30s, can start seeing changes, right? And experience some symptoms that could be a precursor, right, to menopausal things. So recognizing that maybe I need to look at some hormones, maybe do some good hormone testing, in correcting some of those imbalances in the younger years, maybe can translate to some healthier mature years, right? Or less symptomatic mature years.
I agree. And I think so often as women, we feel like, it's just, it's normal. It happens. I'll just suffer through it, but you don't have to, there is the connection with hormones. And so even when you're younger, having even just a basic hormone panel, looking at estrogen, progesterone, even your testosterone, that
thyroid,
of course, can help you to identify if there's something more that's kind of making, your PMS symptoms worse.
Yeah, great points. And I want to now take this in Okay, well, okay, let me back up first. Again,
Okay.
looking at food, looking at supplementation, you mentioned the omega oils, the fatty fish. And again, I don't want to, there's no like magic nutritional bullet if you're suffering from premenstrual syndrome, right? But you mentioned something I think that it kind of gets lost in it, and that's the exercise component of this, right? Aren't there some good studies that show exercising even during the PMS period can be quite helpful?
Yes, because it really helps to, when you exercise, your body releases feel good endorphins, those feel good chemicals that can help with pain. There's actually research that those endorphins can help you to manage some of the
Yeah.
discomfort that you experience, every single month.
Yeah. I don't think my endorphins are working right. When I exercise, I think there's something wrong.
I work great, especially in the morning. Do you exercise in the morning or at
You
night?
know I do my elliptical trainer. Yes. But
Okay.
yeah, I'm kidding, but yeah, I don't know. I hate exercise. I struggle through it. I'll be the first one to admit. I struggle with it. Okay, but now there's another issue here. And we mentioned this at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
It's the superwoman syndrome, right? Tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about what that is and why it's important for the younger woman to understand this superwoman syndrome.
Well, when you're younger, you may be still in school, or now you're starting your career and you're starting your family and you're taking care of your husband because,
Wait. Why did you say it like that?
because
Is Blake watching right now? Blake, you
he's
want to
probably
comment?
not watching.
Blake?
That's
Hello?
why I said that.
I mean, you got right into the camera. You did.
So, you're doing all of these things and you're trying to just do it all. And instead of feeling fulfilled, you often feel deflated. You
Yeah.
feel like
Oh,
no
I
one
like
cares.
that. Yeah.
You feel like, all of the efforts or everything that you're doing is not really being noticed sometimes. And so that's kind of that superwoman syndrome. And so there are 7 solutions that I have. So
Okay.
one, recognize the symptoms, just feeling burnt out.
Hey, Dr. Crystal, hold on one sec. Your cousin Nicole just said husbands are work.
Yes, they are. And that's all we're going to say about that.
All right, number 1 was
So recognize your symptoms. Recognize that, hey, this is too much. And then
Okay.
2, take off the costume. You don't have to be superwoman.
like
It's
that.
okay to show that you're vulnerable. It's okay to ask for help. There are times where I call my mom, and my mom is in Georgia, and I'm just like, Mom, I need you to come here. Like, I just need you.
my superwoman suit's not fitting quite right now. All right, let's go on number 2. Number 2.
So no, 2 was take off the costume. Number
Okay.
3, ask for help. 4, take time out just for you. 5, learn to say no. 6, make your goals reasonable. Don't set unreasonable goals. And then 7, let go of the perfection.
Nice.
It takes a lot to do it. The other day I was in the kitchen and right in the garage, our washer and dryer's in the garage, and I had the dish towel and it was dirty. And, I went to open the garage door and just threw it inside. I didn't even look to see where it landed.
It's okay. But, I like those. And I like the, asking for help, understanding, set those goals that are more appropriate. And it is interesting that we call this the superwoman syndrome. It's not, it really, there's no one can be superwoman or superman. It just doesn't happen. I mean, definitely it's not Superman. That's like not even close. But the superwoman syndrome, I like the way you're laying that out, that at the end of the day, you are who you are. You're doing what you can do. And I think that's important to set those boundaries, those expectations, those goals. I can't remember, Dr. Crystal, we did a podcast on this, right? But we also have a blog on it. Is that right?
We do. Yes, we do.
Robson, that's the, there it is, lifeextension.com /superwoman. And so that's a blog, right? That links to the podcast. And we go into this idea of the superwoman syndrome in much more in depth. But I love those 7 points. So awesome. Thank you for that. We're gonna now move into the mature years.
Yes.
And right off the bat, I mean, obviously with the mature years, the number one focus is the postmenopausal issues, problems, what have you.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit. You laid out when we were talking about this, the 4 phases, right? Of how maybe women in this age group can approach maybe some potential problems that they might have, some symptoms. So tell us about the 4 phases of, I guess, treating postmenopausal issues. Is that fair to say? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of your 4 approaches, or the 4 options. And so the first is diet and lifestyle. And that includes back to exercise, physical activity can certainly help. And with your diet, kind of adding in foods like soy, fermented soy, adding in maca. So sometimes if you make a protein shake, adding in maca, that can be,
have you tried maca before?
I have. I have, Dr. Mike. I try everything.
But is it bitter? Like what? I don't know what that.
Well, no, it's a powder. So I've mixed it in smoothies.
Yeah, so you're not tasting the actual maca. Okay. Right.
No, but it can give you lots of energy and just kind of helps with your mental outlook on life.
Something tells me you've actually tasted maca by itself, but we'll leave it there.
We'll leave it there. And so that's those are diet, lifestyle suggestions. Really looking at things in your diet. Pro-inflammatory foods certainly can make this change of life.
Good
more
point.
challenging.
Yeah.
And so that's the first thing. And then the second option are herbal remedies. And I want to spend a little bit of time here because one that I always love to talk about is rhubarb, Siberian rhubarb.
I knew you were going there. Yep.
I have
great research, right? It's great.
Human studies with over 400 women. And in those studies, I mean, it's helping to relieve about 11 of the common kind of complaints that women deal with.
Can I make a point though? And this is true, right? That it's not your standard Siberian rhubarb that you may find in everyday products and what have you, right? Isn't there a specific branded Siberian rhubarb that was tested and had those kind of results? And I do bring that up. That's something that Life Extension, we always try to do. We actually have that Siberian rhubarb that was tested, right? In
all of those clinical studies. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so that's just an important distinction about what, our commitment to quality and all that kind of stuff.
And the reason I like to talk about the research with Siberian rhubarb is oftentimes when someone's dealing with, or a woman's going through menopause, the doctors will put the woman on an antidepressant. That's one of the first things. And then sometimes there's, the conventional hormone replacement therapy approach, which that approach is very helpful with some of the vasomotor type of symptoms, like, the hot flashes that people deal with. And it doesn't really target some of the mood issues, some of the anxiety, some of the feelings of depression that can kind of come along with menopause. And so when you look at the research with the Siberian rhubarb, there's great benefit with mood. There was actually in one study, or in some of the studies, up to 66% reduction in irritability and mood swings.
Right.
And that's big.
Yeah. And and so anytime you hear something like, I guess at the end of the day, there's the menopausal symptomatic scoring test that women can go through. And I don't even, it's been years since I've done it, but there's several different symptoms that are laid out. And ultimately, this amazing herb, Siberian rhubarb, and this specific extract of it was shown to affect what you mentioned, like 11 of those, right, out of that whole list, and it actually compares pretty good to other treatment options at the end of the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So something to check out, because we have to, even though I am a big proponent of hormone replacement, I think you agree with that. I think that's important, but not everybody does.
That's very true. And some people are, there's still this idea that it's kind of scary for some people. And it can be complex, and you have to find a doctor that really knows what they're doing, and you have to have the routine lab work and the follow-up lab work and all of that. I would have to say it's all worth it. So
I agree, but it may not just be for everybody, right? I mean,
right, it's not for everyone. People oftentimes just want to be able to go into a health food store and use something that's more natural.
Yeah. So that's your so phase 1 lifestyle. Phase 2 was the herbal remedies in Siberia, and there, yes, there's other ones. Black cohosh has been used for years, and you mentioned the maca. I mean, there's definitely other what we call phytoestrogens, right? These are plants that have compounds that mimic estrogen, and it's controversial, blah, 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 whatever. But at the end of the day, Siberian rhubarb, without a doubt, has the solid clinical research, specifically the extract that we use at Life Extension. What's your third part, your third phase?
And before we do that, I do want to just go back, because you mentioned black cohosh, and that was on my list. And that is one. We get this question often, so I hope you don't mind me going back.
You have 10 seconds.
10 seconds. Black cohosh is actually it's one for people who are concerned with taking phytoestrogens. So people often are concerned with soy, or they don't want to take something that will have a phytoestrogen effect in the body. And so black cohosh is one that we often suggest adding into the regimen.
Okay. Yeah, and that's nice. So if you don't even want the phytoestrogens, that's a potential But of course, as we said, the clinical data falls on Siberian rhubarb, right? That's pretty much our consensus. So what's phase 3?
Over-the-counter hormones. So estrogen, progesterone, those are available. Bioidentical, meaning that it's identical to what the body makes. So combining that with lab work, you can just purchase those in your health food stores. So that was number 3. And then number 4 are the prescription hormone replacement therapy. You just want to make sure you find a doctor who knows how to, properly prescribe bioidentical hormones.
That's the key, right? Let's, again, if you don't mind, I'd like to just reiterate what you've already said. We support bioidentical hormone replacement, right? We don't want a horse's estrogen. We just don't. We want real human estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, DHEA, whatever that is. Bioidentical means your body sees it almost like as your own, right? It has the same physical and metabolical function. Is metabolical a word?
I don't think so.
Metabolically. Help me out, Crystal. It has the same metabolic effects in the body as the human forms do. So bioidentical hormone replacement is what we is the only thing we really suggest. For prescription. So there's your 4 stages. The last thing, just quickly we wanted to mention. So in the younger years, there's the superwoman syndrome, right? It's that, like you said it great, right? The career, kids, husband, juggling everything, and has to be perfect, and But in the more mature years, it's a little different, right? It's a lot of these super women now they have empty nest syndrome. Now, their husbands are retired and at home all the time. Like, how does that change then a little bit?
Well, you are oftentimes redefining yourself, or you're just trying to find purpose in life. The post superwoman syndrome, you would hope that your child would call you and ask for help. You want to be able to be there. And so it's when you're the empty nester, now you and your partner has retired, now you're trying to get to know your partner all over again. And so it can be a challenging time of life.
Yeah. And we recognize that, right? And that's where, I think, we've talked about this before, the importance of making good connections with people, staying active, not just physically active, but socially active, right? Like finding those things you enjoy and you can connect with, whatever that may be. I think that's critically important during this time. So wow, we covered, if I can summarize, right? We covered breast care, right? We have the lifeextension.com/breast care URL. Go check out that protocol. Thank you, Robson. And then we moved into the younger years. We talked about the premenstrual syndrome. We talked about the superwoman syndrome. So we have a couple of URLs there for you. lifeextension.com/PMS and then /superwoman.
Yeah.
Robson's getting frustrated with me because I'm saying these out of order. It's a live show, Robson. Come on, relax.
He's okay.
And then of course the mature years, and we have a great protocol on helping with menopause. And you guys, these protocols aren't just about supplements, right? They cover the recent research. They cover food, exercise, drugs. It's the whole thing. We're trying to be as comprehensive as we can, and that's lifeextension.com/menopause. Dr. Crystal, great job.
Thank you. Great job to you as well. It's always great being on with you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And so I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Don't forget, we go live every Wednesday at 3:00. The first Wednesday of every month is the big show. You get both of us, right? And then after that, we take turns. But regardless, either Dr. Crystal or myself will be on Wednesdays at 3. And we talk about all kinds of things, right? We just kind of, Dr. Crystal and I like to talk.
We do.
We just talk. So join us. And don't forget, like and comment and share. We want to get all this good information out to as many people as we can. And we really thank you guys, and we see you as our partners in the dissemination of this great information. So Dr. Crystal, thank you again.
Thank you. You're welcome.
And for all of you that joined us, we love you and goodbye.